it's Nina here with Walla Stamping. Thank you for joining me today. So this is the project that I'm going to be sharing with you. It's just a little pouch that I made for my son and his roommate up at West Point. So let me show you everything you're going to need to make this project. I'm doing the base of the pouch in soft suede. This is cut to 6 5/8 by 5 3/4. I have another piece that is 6 by 1 3/4. Pumpkin pie 3 by 3, some very vanilla that is 2 3/4 by 1 1/2, a piece of copper foil 3 by 3, and then this is just a scrap piece. It's about 3 by 1 1/2. So you're going to need your Simply Scored scoring tool, and we're going to go ahead and get this scored. So first of all, you'll start off with your soft suede in with the 5 3/8 inch across the top. Then you're going to score at 5/8 of an inch, 2 3/8, 3, and 4 3/4. Now don't worry about trying to keep up with all the measurements here. I'm going to have a printable instruction sheet that's going to have the list of supplies as well as the measurements and detailed instructions on how to make this project. It'll be over on my blog post about this project, so you'll be able to find that there. Turning it to the 6 5/8 inch side, scoring at 5/8 of an inch again. Then I'm coming up here to 3 5/8, and if you can see, there are 4 horizontal score lines here. So I'm going to score from the 3 5/8 inch mark, and I'm going to come down here to this third horizontal score line and stop right there. Then I'm going to just flip it upside down, score at the 3 5/8 again, and just stop at that first score line right there. So that's all the scoring that you have to do. And in that instruction sheet, I will have a diagram of this piece of paper that'll show you where to score, where to cut, where to fold. So I try to do that for you guys so that it won't be confusing. Alright, so let's go ahead and fold all of our score lines across the 5 3/8 inch side. We're not going to do anything to these score lines that we made that stopped midway. Those are really cutting score lines, I guess is what I need to say, just a reference so you'll know where to cut. Okay, so first of all, I want to get rid of this little square right here. So I'm going to cut away, and then I'm going to cut straight up each of these vertical score lines, stopping at the first horizontal, and then I'm going to come back in on these little tabs that I'm making and just cut away a little small wedge. Those little pieces out. Now I'm going to cut along this score line, and I know it may be hard for you to see, but that score line is right there. I'm going to cut along this score line. I'm going to go all the way across to that third one where that score line stopped. Then I'm going to come over here and trim on this one. Now I'm going to turn it so that the tab that I just trimmed is to my left, and I'm going to come over here to this second score line from the left and trim straight up that line and get rid of this little piece. So when you're done, you're going to have these 2 little tabs left over right here, and I'll show you why in just a second what I'm going to be doing with those. So let me get my fast fuse real quick, and we'll go ahead and get this box put together. What I want to do first is put some adhesive on each of these little tabs, and I'm just going to fold those in. The reason I'm doing that is because this protein bar is pretty heavy, and I wanted to have a little extra cardstock back here just to make the top flap of this pouch a little more sturdy to hold up to that sitting against it. And then we're going to have an additional piece of cardstock even on top of that, which will give it even more stability. So that'll be good. Now this little piece right here is going to end up getting folded over, and it'll actually be on the outside of the box. So I'm going to put adhesive on this tab, and then this one will be the last one that'll fold in because this is the front of the box. So I'll put adhesive on that too. Then I'm going to fold this over, get that stuck down. Then I'm going to fold in the 2 side flaps, the back one, and then fold that last one over. So our little pouch is already created. Now, what we're going to do next is a little bit of embellishing on our cardstock. So I'm going to be using my soft suede and a stamping sponge. So I'm going to take my sponge and just dip it into my soft suede. Rub a little bit of that off before I go onto my cardstock, just so I can control how dark I get this. And primarily I'm sticking to putting color around the top and then sort of just down the sides about halfway, because this is going to be sticking inside my pouch and you're not going to see this part down here, so it doesn't make sense to waste your ink or your time coloring that. I do want it to have a little lighter appearance in the middle. And not that you're really going to see that either while the bar is in the pouch, but I just like the way that that looks. Okay, so I'm going to leave that one that way. This one I'm going to do in the same way, but I'm going to color all the way around the whole outside and leave some lightness on the inside. Okay, so now I've got those done. Next, I'm going to show you this really cool technique of doing heat embossing using your Versamark and a piece of paper. You're going to love it. So what I'm doing here is just putting some of my Embossing Buddy powder down so that my Versamark and embossing powder will only stay where I want it to. The stamp set and the thinlits that I'm using today is the season or the Colorful Seasons and the Seasonal Layers thinlits. Now you can purchase these separately, but you can also get them as a bundle, and if you get them that way and use the bundle number, you'll actually save 10% on the cost. I can't think of the name of the bundle for these right off the top of my head, but I will have it on the screen for you, and that way you'll know what it's called. So if this is something you're interested in getting, you'll at least know how to order it. So let me move these over to the side for just a minute and get going here with my Versamark. Now just have a piece of copy paper. I'm just going to tear this in half, and then this little piece here I'm just going to wad up into a ball. Just like that. I want to make sure that I've got some texture going on in there for this way of adding embossing powder. So let me work with that just a little bit. I think I actually like that side right there. I'm going to dip this paper into my Versamark and try to get as much on there as I can, and then I'm going to brush this across my paper at an angle. And I know you cannot see what it's doing, but I can see the shine of it from my lighting, so I can tell where it's going. Then I'm going to use my copper embossing powder. Pick that up. Oh, that's clear. Sorry about that. I need copper, not clear. The clear is for later. I'm going to put that down into my copper embossing powder and tap off the excess, and there you go. So I'm going to get my heat tool heated up and get this heat embossed real quick. Is that not so cool looking? I just love the way that that looks, just using a piece of paper and your Versamark. So I'm going to go ahead and move this one over to the side, get my Versamark open again, get some ink on this wadded up piece of paper, and I'm just going to do a couple of swishes across here, put that in my copper embossing powder again, tap off the excess, and get this heat embossed. Okay, so I've got those two done. While I am doing my embossing, I might as well go ahead and do this. So what you'll want to do next is put some Embossing Buddy powder on top of your gold foil, or your copper foil sheet rather, or you can use gold if you like. Then I'm going to take my sentiment and I'm going to get it inked up really well in my Versamark ink. Then I'm going to come over here in my basic black archival ink and get it inked up over there, and then try to keep a steady hand. Stamp that down. Try not to move it once it touches the paper, because this copper foil is slick and you could smear your image a little bit. I think I might have slightly moved mine. Okay, so I do have a little bit of embossing powder there I'm going to brush away. For the most part, it looks good. So I'm going to let those sit just a second and cool off, and in the meantime I'm going to take my pouch. I'm going to use my multi-purpose liquid glue. Just put some on the back of this 6-inch long piece, then slide that down inside the pouch and then stick it down. And I've got ink all over me. I don't know how I managed to do that, but somehow I do. Then I'm going to take this piece on the front, use my multi-purpose liquid glue with that also, and just get this centered up right here in the front of the pouch. Oopsie, I slid it a little bit. Let's get that back into place. Now this should be cooled enough. I'm going to use my classic label punch. I'm going to slide that sentiment down in there and get that cut out. Set this aside for just a minute. Now what we're going to do next is make our leaf. So I'm going to take my pumpkin pie and another piece of the gold foil sheet. I'm going to use my Seasonal Layers Thinlits. I'm going to use this outline, or the full image cut out here of the leaf, and then this outline image on top of it. So let me grab my Big Shot and bring that over here real quick. Take my pumpkin pie, put the full die on top of that. Then actually I think I may cut this out with the other plate that I have for cutting out dies that are intricate like that. Now I'm going to put my Big Shot platform, my thin die adapter, and my precision cutting pad. Going to lay my copper foil and my die on top of that, and a cutting plate, and run this through. I'm going to use my die brush, trying to get all those little pieces out. Okay, that looks nice. Set those aside. Grab my leaf, bring it in, get my soft suede ink again, and my Stampin' sponge. You could also use a dauber here. Just going to put some of this soft suede ink around the outer edges of this leaf. Give it some fall look to it. It's been on the tree, it's gotten hit with frost, it's changing colors. So I'm going to take my leaf here, use my multi-purpose liquid glue again, just put some ink all over the back here, especially on these little outer tips of these leaves. So I want to make sure that it stays stuck well. It doesn't take a lot of glue. Put a little bit down here on this. I got a little bit too much. I'm going to rub some of that off. I'm going to take a block and just lay this over here to the side for just a minute and put a block on top of it. In the meantime, I'm going to get my Thinking of You ready to adhere. I'll be using mini glue dots, and I'm going to be using the mini dimensionals. So I know that I'm going to have this on top of my box in this direction, and I'm going to have our jute twine wrapped around. So behind the word You, I'm going to put a couple of the mini glue dots to stick that to the top of the jute twine. Then on the other end, behind the word Thinking, I'm going to use a couple of these mini glue dots. So I'm going to put one down, take the backing off, and then put a second one right on top of that first one. That's going to give me the height that I need. Okay, I think my leaf is probably good to go now. I'll use a couple of glue dots to stick it onto the front of my pouch. I'm going to put this right here at somewhat of an angle. Then take my twine. I'm going to wrap that around the bottom portion of this leaf. I'm going to go around my box 3 times. Then I'm just going to tie it in a double knot. Then I like to untwist it a little bit, make it kind of frayed looking. Then I will stick the Thinking of You right here into place, put those glue dots there and the dimensionals there. So I'm just going to rob one of these protein bars and slide it right down in there. Okay, and there we go. So isn't that a cute way to send your college student a little treat? Let me cover up that dark ink. I think that these are really cute, and they're simple and quick enough to send to a teenage boy that he's going to appreciate the fact that you sent him a dressed up little gift, but you're not going to have so much time and energy put into something that he may throw in the trash. But anyway, I will have links to all of the featured supplies listed in the description box that's going to be below the video down here. So if you're interested in making this project, you'll have a list of supplies down there. You can just click on those and go directly to my online store and shop. But I'd like for you to head on over to my blog and find this blog post, because I will have, like I said, that instruction sheet over there that you can print. There's going to be additional pictures over there, a complete instruction sheet, and there will be a drawing of the diagram on where to cut and fold your box. And I just want to say thanks for stopping by today and spending some time with me. If you like the project, I'd love for you to give it a thumbs up. And be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. That way you're not going to miss any other of my paper crafting tutorials. Also, you might want to sign up for my newsletter over on my blog. I send out exclusive tutorials once a month to all of my newsletter subscribers that only they get. So thank you so much for watching today, and I will talk to you soon.